Welcome back to First Chapter Friday, where I will read the first chapter of a book in hopes that you will read the rest on your own. Today's book is one of 6 chosen Illinois Reads books. Illinois Reads was first introduced by the Illinois Reading Council in March of 2013. This program encourages people to read books by Illinois authors. Every year, the program offers a new list of books at 6 different age levels, from birth to adult. Please enjoy one of the 6 Illinois Reads books chosen for grades 3 through 5, called Weird Little Robot. Weird Little Robots is the story of 11-year-old Penny Rose, who just moved to a new town, and so far the robots she builds herself are her only company. But with just a bit of magic, everything changes. She becomes friends with Lark, has the chance to join a secret science club, and discovers that her robots are alive. Penny Rose hardly remembers how lonely she used to feel. But then a fateful misstep forces her to choose between the best friend she's always hoped for and the club she's always dreamed of. And in the end, it may be her beloved little robots that pay the price. Here is Weird Little Robots, written by Illinois author Carolyn Crimey. There's a couple little pictures in the book. The cool September breeze blew down from the north. It drifted through darkling forest, causing the animals there to burrow deeper into their underground homes. It picked up leaves and gum wrappers and it swooshed across Skillington Avenue. It swept past the Boyles' house, the Kinkles' house, and the Gilmore's house until it settled over the very last house on the corner, number 1959. You might not pay too much attention to this old Victorian at first. Its front yard was ordinary enough. The ordinary porch swing creaked in the wind. 2 ordinary pots of yellow mums welcomed guests. But if you walked around to the backyard, you would see a shed with a sagging roof and a cracked window. An interesting shed. A sign written in crayon was taped to its green door. "Don't come in, I'm creating." And if you look through the window of the shed on that September afternoon, you'll see an 11-year-old girl named Penny Rose Mooney, sitting at the rickety card table with more than a dozen items strewn across it. There were the usual helpful things like the hammer that was no bigger than a pencil, the wing nuts, the screwdriver, and the cigar box filled with AAA batteries. Penny Rose especially loved the yellow metal tape measure that zipped back into its case with the touch of a button. But most fascinating of all were the little robots that Penny Rose had created out of the bits and pieces she found on her treasure walks. She has made them with odd items that pleased her, like a meat thermometer, a cell phone, a calculator, a pair of old dentures. One robot had a marble eye that Penny Rose had found in the town graveyard. Today was Penny Rose's birthday. There would be cake that night, presents, a few balloons, but if you listened very carefully, you'd hear her talking to the robots about it. "I think having a birthday party with just your parents and your cat is fine. I really do," she told them. "But I have you guys. You're my friends." She didn't like the way her voice trembled when she said that last part, so she did what she always did when she worried or became upset. She tightened another screw. She loosened a bolt. She changed a battery. The wind blew across her neck. She shivered and pulled the hood up on her sweatshirt. "Why is it so cold all of a sudden?" The robots didn't answer. And maybe it was the force of her determination, or a few stray whiskers from her cat Arvid, or that northerly wind blowing in through the window that changed every single item in that shed on that cool September afternoon. Or maybe it was simply a desperate wish from a lonely girl. That was a little bit of the beginning, and now we get into Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The next morning, after a quick visit to the shed, Penny Rose joined her parents at the kitchen table for breakfast. Every Sunday morning since they had moved, her father made pancakes in the shape of insects. He was an entomologist, so he pretty much thought about insects all day. Penny Rose didn't have the heart to tell him that she hated his pancakes. He was trying very hard to be the family cook now that Mom was busy with her new job at the bank. Besides, Penny Rose liked guessing what the shapes were. Mom sat at the kitchen table with a lumpy-looking pancake on her plate. She had taken exactly one bite. She looked up when Penny Rose came in and shook her head ever so slightly. Penny Rose knew what that meant. Another perfectly good batch of pancakes batter ruined. He had probably added something gourmet like rhubarb or olives. He never seemed to be able to leave pancake batter alone. Dad slid another lumpy-looking one onto her plate and set it before her. "Happy day after your birthday," he said. "I thought I'd make an especially challenging pancake today. See what you think." Penny Rose stared at the blob of a pancake. "Bumblebee?" she asked. She tossed a piece to Arvid, who was the only one who loved Dad's pancakes. Dad shook his head and turned back to the stove. "Nope, guess again." "I bet it's a beetle," she said. They had just had a long discussion the day before about beetles. "Ding, ding, ding! You're correct. Now eat your beetle." He sat down at the table, smiled at her, and took a bite of his own beetle pancake. He was lanky like Penny Rose and had the same black hair and green eyes. He was almost the opposite version of her mother, who had straight blonde hair and a stocky build. "I know you wanted a small birthday party with just us last night," Mom said, "but since we have leftover cake, I thought it might be nice to invite Lark over tonight to help us polish it off." Penny Rose took a tentative bite of her beetle pancake, which had something odd and crunchy in it. Peanuts? Crackers? She wasn't sure. "I've said hello to her 3 times, and she hasn't said one word back to me," Penny Rose said. "Maybe she's shy," Mom said. "Or maybe she didn't hear you," Dad said. "Or maybe she doesn't want to be my friend," Penny Rose said, staring down at her plate. Penny Rose and her parents had moved to Skillington Avenue 28 days ago, and she had been studying Lark Hinkle from her bedroom window ever since. Lark's house was on the opposite side of the street in the middle of the block. Penny Rose had to crane her neck to get a good vantage point. She could often see Lark standing in her front yard writing notes as she stared through binoculars at the treetops. Lark was utterly mysterious. She wore enormous sunglasses everywhere, even in her 5th grade classroom. Sometimes she carried a small metal box. And Lark didn't seem to have any friends either. It was so logical for her and Penny Rose to be friends, but so far it hadn't happened. "Besides, it's not like I don't have any friends," Penny Rose said. "I have the robots and Arvid and you guys." She looked up from her plate to see her parents giving her the concerned stare. They gave her the concerned stare when she worked in her shed for long hours or when she talked about how her robots were her friends. They probably worried about other things too, like flesh-eating viruses and alligators, but Penny Rose knew that approximately 97% of their worries had to do with her and how she was adjusting to the new neighborhood. Given that, she didn't dare mention how when she went into the shed this morning, the air seemed different, like the cold breeze that had swept in the night before had stayed there, or how a squirrel with a black smudge on his tail had seemed to follow her as she walked from the house and then watched her from the tree branch the entire time she was in the shed. She was sure that if she told them these things, the concerned stare would become their permanent expression. "I think you should go over there and ring her doorbell," Mom said. "And then you just introduce yourself," Dad said. "Ask her if she'd like to see the robots." "I'll try," Penny Rose said. She took another bite of beetle pancake. "Great," Mom said. Dad smiled and nodded. First, though, Penny Rose would need a detailed plan. She went to her bedroom, sat on her bed, and turned on the lamp she had made last year from an olive oil can. A stack of notebooks sat on her nightstand, her new inventions notebook, her robot drawings and descriptions notebook, and her to-do list notebook. Her most secret notebook, Conversation Starters, was at the bottom of the pile. She picked it up, found a clean page, and wrote a quick list of possible conversation starters. Number 1. "I think binoculars are fun. Lark seemed to like binoculars." Number 2. "The sun seems strong today. Lark often wears sun goop. First determine if the sun does indeed seem strong." 3. "Sunglasses are very wise. Lark wears sunglasses. Do you like robots?" It's unknown whether or not Lark likes robots, but it is probable that she does since most people do. 5. "Yesterday was my birthday. Would you like some leftover cake?" This seemed like a good bet, unless she has allergies or is gluten-free or vegan or something. 6. "What's in that metal box?" This might be too nosy, although if you're going to carry something so mysterious, you should be prepared to ask questions. Penny Rose looked over her list. She considered what her father said about Lark not hearing her before. She decided she would speak loudly. Penny Rose tore out the page and tucked it into the tool belt she wore in case she happened upon interesting items for her robots. "This is it, Arvid," she announced to the small orange cat curled up on her bedroom rug. "This is the day I become friends with Lark Hinkle." Arvid did what he always did when Penny Rose made important announcements. He yawned. And that's the end of the. Want to read Weird Little Robots? You can go to the Northlake or Franklin Park Public Library website and download the ebook if you have a library card. So go out there and get yourself a library card and download this wonderful book.